when you know what you want, the world becomes your library as to how to get it.
Come on, man. Let's go.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
Once you know what you want, you have to first know what you want, at least bare minimum a little bit. You know, is that way you kind of start gearing in the right direction. And the world becomes your library as to how to get it. But I want to be able to say, you know, when he asked that question, almost like a confidence to know like that, you know, son, this is or daughter, this is a will.
Yeah.
And this is going to be all for you.
Yeah. This is all yours.
This is all yours, you know,
So
like,
powerful.
yeah, that's pretty much what, you know, what I think about, you know, when it comes to the word legacy. It's not about money. It's about what could you leave behind. It'll suck to become successful. And it's like, that's not even who you wanted to become. Maybe you want to be a musician. Maybe you wanted to do something else and you ended up being a real estate agent. Yeah, you gained success, but you never actually chased your passion of what you wanted to do.
What is up, everyone? My name is EJ Cruz, and this is The Parables, your go-to source for wisdom, inspiration, and real conversations to help you become your highest self. If this is your first time tuning in, I appreciate you and grateful that you are here. And if you are a returning listener, subscriber, or watcher, I appreciate you running it back. And guys, I just really want to get into it, but first, you know, I got to tell you, just to give some context on my guest who is here, who I'm so excited to be here with. You know, as a podcaster, one of the best things, and as a creator, I always get asked this question, many questions, but one of the questions I always get asked is, EJ, how do you choose your guest? Like, how do you select them? And, you know, the answer is pretty simple. While, as many of you know, the people I like to bring on are people who are inspirational, that have a story, that are doing great things in their industry, their field, and then their community. You know, truth be told, sometimes it's just people that I feel I have a great relationship with, and we just have a strong chemistry and bond, right? These are some people that I believe, even at times that I feel have not told their story yet or had the platform to be heard. And I'm just so excited because this is a good friend of mine. He's amazing. He's building his business. He's obviously very good looking, as you guys will see here. But man, my brother, Matt Tolano, I appreciate you, brother, coming on the podcast, man. Thank you so much.
EJ, I appreciate you, man. It's an honor. And I've been a fan of the podcast since 2018, since you launched this. So I'm super excited to be here, brother. Thank you.
Bro, it's been a long time, man. It's been a long time. And I appreciate you, man. I know you probably share, you know, the same feelings in regards to, I just feel like, you know, we're kind of on the same journey, not maybe necessarily the same road or path, but I feel like we're just definitely on the same journey, and that journey is just like upwards and forward, right? And I'm a big fan of yours. I see what you're building. You know, you're the founder and CEO, right, of Legacy Jewelry LA, right? Yep. And I'm just like, and everything else that you're about, man, I just knew you were the perfect fit for the podcast. And truthfully, by the way, guys, and Matt, you may not even know this is actually just my excuse to hang out with you and talk shop, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
cool, man. Cool,
yeah,
cool.
man.
I'm excited.
Yeah, man. So, hey, just real quick, you know, we're going to get into lots of different things. You know, I know a lot of people are going to get value from this episode, but just real quick, just maybe like a quick couple minutes, if you could give a quick background about yourself, who you are, you know, where you come from and things like that.
All right, man. Well, for that, I guess we'll start from the beginning. I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley, 626 kid at heart. I was raised in the city of El Monte. And yeah, I would say I had a pretty cool, pretty fun upbringing. The childhood was fun back in the day when, you know, kids would play outside instead of on video games. Mm-hmm. That's where I grew up. So, you know, the basketball, baseball, football on the streets with the boys, riding bikes, rollerblades. That was pretty much my childhood. It was pretty cool. And, you know, a little bit after that, getting into high school, that's kind of when I realized, you know, that it was a tougher environment. El Monte, I didn't notice, you know, because when you grow up somewhere, you think it's normal. Yeah. You know, finally, you know, you get to an age where, all right, cool. You become more aware of, like, the gang environment.
Like, in hindsight, you're like, dang, like, where I grew up is kind of,
This is where I grew up, you know. I didn't think anything of it. You know, you see the yellow tape, the street closed off. It seems like it was almost every weekend the street was closed off. My parents would kind of joke, like, oh, we got to go around the other side because the street's closed off today. It seemed like it was almost every weekend that's what it was. You know, the helicopters flying over the top. the lights beaming down. The boys kind of were running away like we're the bad guys. It was almost like the norm, you know. So,
dogs barking.
Dogs barking. Yeah, it was crazy. So roosters barking. Actually, we had neighbors with roosters. Yeah.
Okay.
So. It was so getting to high school, that's when I realized, you know, I don't come from, you know, from much. My family, amazing parents, you know, love them to death, but we don't come from money. And it's and it showed, you know, in that environment. It was like I said, more apparent once I got to high school. Luckily, I had good parents that kind of steered me away from that life, plus sports. You know, in high school I wrestled, so wrestling was pretty much what kept me out of trouble. Wrestling right after school was practice. Then we come back for a night practice. So for the most part, after school it was wrestling. So
nice. That was your outlet, you would say? Or?
Yeah, I would say that was that. Yeah, that was. I didn't even wrestle growing up. A lot of the kids, they kind of grew up, you know, 5-6 years old wrestling. I kind of just fell into it, and in high school, you know, I saw UFC, like all these you know, fighters, and I'm like, oh, wrestling sounds pretty cool. Let's give it a shot. I didn't even know how to take like literally take somebody down. Like I was stumbling. I felt like I was Bambi, you know, with like trying to struggle how to take a shot. Like, and I see these guys like, dang, how did they learn so quick? We're starting at the same time. Like, no, they actually started when they were 5 years old, you know. Right. So,
dude, I didn't know that about you. So good to know when we hang out and we come into conflict. You got my back, all right?
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool. It's good, you know, for self-defense for sure, man. Wrestling is definitely good for self-defense, but just overall the discipline. But fast forward,
are you the only child?
I'm not. I have two brothers, two younger brothers.
See, I'm trying to see like maybe like the wrestling with older brothers. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to see that connection. But yeah,
it helped. It helped to be the bigger brothers. Like, dude, I'll take you down. You better relax.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then fast forward, you know, I decided to enlist in the military. Actually, I didn't even graduate high school. I didn't finish with my class. I wasn't, you know, the biggest. I wasn't a troublemaker in class. I wasn't a fan of, you know, school. Okay. So I just didn't have the grades to finish and to walk with my class. So I had to finish. I went to the recruiter. I said, dude, I want to enlist in the Marines. They're like, do you have your diploma? I said, no, I don't. I want to enlist in the Marines. He said, okay, well, you got to get at least your diploma. So I went to an adult school. I had to finish and get my diploma at an adult school. And then finally I leave to the Marines. That was a cool experience.
What was the reason for going to the Marines, by the way? The foundation with that. You just wanted like a I don't know, like a disciplined path. What did that look like? Yeah,
I would say it was one, I wanted to get out of the environment.
Okay.
And I think that was the quickest way. Okay. You know, like I said, we didn't have money, so they couldn't send me to a school. Plus I didn't want to go to a school. You know, as far as like going and, you know, finding a dorm room in a different state or something, I didn't want to go to school. So I was like, you know what, let me try something. Let me challenge myself. I read, like, you know, back with the wrestling background, I wanted to challenge myself physically, mentally. And that's pretty much what drove that, of course. Plus the wanting of serving the country. Nice. You know, a part of me wanted. It wasn't the biggest thing. You know, I can't say I don't have family that served in the military.
That was my next question. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have family that served in the military, and that's typically a lot of people's, you know, trajectory. It's like, oh, my family served. I want to continue that. No, I wouldn't say that was the number one goal. I would say the number one goal was to leave the environment I was in. You know, and sure enough, as I'm gone, I see a lot of my friends. You know, some of them died. Some of them because of gang activity. Some of them drug activity. And I'm like, wow, you know, a part of me has, you know, survivor's guilt because I left them, you know, like, hey, do you know your buddy, you know, they know the dudes I rolled with, you know, I even wrestled with these guys, some of them. Like, you know, yeah, man, so-and-so passed away. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? So-and-so passed away. Yeah. And it was just hard, you know, being away and, but that's the reality of what it was. So I'm glad I left.
Was it confirmation that you probably made the right decision, although 100%. You still had that guilt a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. It definitely was confirmation, but at the same time, I didn't want to feel like I was turning my back on where I grew up, you know, on my friends and family or stuff like that.
Yeah. Awesome. So you were in the Marines, and you know, what did you do?
So I was an administrative specialist. So, you know, I had a pretty easy job. I had a desk job. My mom was like, all right, if you're going to leave the Marines, I don't want you to be, you know, on the front lines, because a lot of people don't really understand the military dynamics.
Yeah.
And, I want you to do something that, you know, you can do after the military.
Yeah.
Use your skills for afterwards, you know. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's try a desk job. So, you know, so that was pretty it was pretty cool. My days consisted of, you know, what was it? 8 a.m. to 3 or 4 o'clock. That was, work time. And then afterwards I would train. There was a Marine Corps martial arts program, McMAP. And I was always staying busy with that. That was my my outlet also.
Nice.
Marine Corps martial arts program.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was cool.
Now, when you transitioned over, I know you got into some other things. What did that kind of look like? And then, how did that lead to what you do now?
Post-military?
Yeah, post-military, yes.
So I get out of the Marine Corps in July of 2018. Maybe within a month or so, I decided I want to start selling. I found jewelry, and I started selling some fashion jewelry.
Okay, so you were doing that off the jump.
Yeah, right off the jump. Right off the start.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So I actually flew back to North Carolina where I was stationed, and went with some of my guys who re-enlisted, and they were still there. I said, hey guys, you want to buy some jewelry? I met up with them. My boy the Tolano's back in town. Because we know each other from last name. So we know each other by last name.
Tolano sounds like a mafia name.
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah. So and my dad jokes that you're Italian, you know that, right? I'm Hispanic, but he jokes. But
that's funny.
Yeah, they're like, Tolano's back in town. They bought some jewelry from me, so that was cool. It was kind of like an affirmation. All right, cool, it's working. People would actually buy this stuff. So I started with that. Fast forward maybe 6 months later, I fly to 10X GrowthCon, Grant Cardone's 10X GrowthCon in Miami. And sure enough, as soon as we get off the plane, I look over and to the baggage claim, and I look over and see somebody I recognized, and it was Sam Bakhtiar. God rest his soul. Rest in peace to Sam Bakhtiar. But I noticed him as soon as I got off the plane. I was like, bro, I think this is Sam Bakhtiar. He's like, go talk to him. Yeah. I went and talked to him. I expected, big dude. He wasn't doing podcasts at the time. It was just pictures. So he's big, I was expecting, what up, dude? I was expecting, like something like that. He's like, no, how you doing, man? Yeah, pleasure to meet you, man. It's an honor. Thank you for your service, he said. I told him I was in the military. And super humble guy. I freaking loved him from the jump, Yeah. And then fast forward, a gentleman that was next to him, actually, he overheard the conversation that I was in town, trying to get a mentor. Yeah. That's pretty much what it was. I sold some jewelry, but I don't know anything about business. Yeah, yeah. So, and sure enough, that gentleman that was next to him ended up being my mentor. Nice. And I meet him in Miami. He lived in the same city that I lived in. I was like, dude, you're kidding me. Okay, cool. This was definitely God's plan right there, you know? I didn't even get to the event yet. This was in the airport.
Dude, it's crazy because sorry to interrupt, we have so many mutual friends, and I forget about where Sam Bakhtiar falls into this. Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? So sorry, it's just crazy. It's like coming to me like, wow, like the impact and legacy he's left. What I'm saying?
For sure. Yeah, going with legacy. Yeah, he's he played a big role. Just within that. Had I not recognized him, had he not been who he was, and left the impact that he left, I wouldn't have gone up to talk to him, and I wouldn't have met the gentleman that was next to him, who mentored me for a couple years. I learned, business. I learned, some mental resilience and disciplines from him, and that helped a lot. That helped shape me who I am today. So definitely, thankful for Sam Bakhtiar.
Nice, man. Yeah. Damn, that's just crazy. For those of you who don't recognize the name, Sam Bakhtiar, a good friend of ours, may he rest in peace. He was on the podcast in season 1, and I do talk about him a little bit on episode 1 of season 2. I believe we're going to name that episode 85 or 86. But anyway, I appreciate that, Matt. So let's talk about what you do now, Legacy Jewelry LA. And I feel like I'm going to get a little masterclass now in regards to how to start like a jewelry business. But I kind of want to get the backstory and kind of like, just the foundation of it. Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the business is a representation of who you are and your values and principles and things like that too.
100%, yeah.
Actually, my first question is this: when you actually got into the selling of jewelry, was it for the love of actually like jewelry itself, or was it just like the sales, like meeting people, like how they feel, like what was the love interest with that?
Yeah, man, it was definitely about the money to begin with. It wasn't, I can't say I had a passion for jewelry. I always wore a chain and a watch, but it wasn't passion for me. It was definitely trying to figure out what I wanted to do post-military. And I was going to buy a chain for myself, and I heard the negotiations. I said, hey, this sounds pretty fun. Yeah. So I kind of bought some jewelry, and that's when I kind of made those sales.
Nice.
And that's pretty much how that happened.
Yeah. I'm actually fascinated with jewelry, and I think I told you this story. So I actually grew up in jewelry. My dad and my grandfather, who we call Lolo in Tagalog, Filipino, they were gold all the time. No way. Rings, chains, all that stuff. And then my mom, she's a nurse. but she sold jewelry on the side.
Hustler, nice.
Yeah, so she'd be like, in the corner of the nurse's station. Sorry, mom, I'm putting you on blast here. Like selling jewelry.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right, and I've
That's
always
really
just
cool.
had like, been fascinated not only, with jewelry and the items itself, but just also just like, again, for someone like yourself that I know, it's just fascinating to see like, hey, like, did you just wake up one day and be like, yo, I'm going to sell jewelry. I'm going to be Jacob the jeweler. Or like, what I'm saying? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah,
right. So, so I just want to get an idea with that. How would you say, the industry is competitive, right? In regards to like, the competition out there, the different businesses, there's lots of branding. What does that kind of look like today? And what are you learning as you're building your business?
Well, it's definitely competitive. I mean, I would say the biggest challenge for me in this industry is that a lot of it's generational.
Okay.
So, like I had to learn everything from scratch.
Okay.
And a lot of the, the manufacturers that I deal with, even if they're my age, they grew up around jewelry since they were kids, and they already knew the language. They already knew, how to buy, what's the right price to buy, how to price it. All that stuff I had to do my own homework. I would literally go to these stores, at the mall and see, okay, what are they pricing it at? What's fair? What's reasonable? Like
there was no ChatGPT back then,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was trying to make sure I'm pricing it fair, so that way my customer's not overpaying, but at the same time get paid what, for my time, and for my efforts. I'm building a brand, so there has to be profit, of course. So that was pretty much my way of learning. I had to bootstrap the business. It was just me on my own trying to figure this maneuver through the industry when a lot of these guys are generational. Plus with that comes a lot of money for ads, a lot of money for marketing, which I didn't have.
And we've talking about like strategies with that
exactly
few times too.
Exactly. So, and I didn't have any of that. So to see these brands, and I'm like, wow, they have such down to the small things, because I built it from scratch. So the packaging, man, they have really nice packaging. Wow, their bags are phenomenal. Oh my gosh, their showroom smells good. The lighting is amazing.
Presentation, right? It's about presentation and feel, how you make them feel.
And I pay attention to all these things. I'll be out having dinner, and I'm looking at what the restaurant owner, what they did, why their lighting is this way, why the menu looks this way.
You're very detailed, just like me. I'm the same way. Like when I'm in an environment, people don't realize, I may not seem like it, but I'm like paying attention to lots of different things, and especially when it comes to something like in the business you're in, I can only imagine how detailed you are.
100%.
Down to like the microscopic details.
Under a microscope, we have to look at it. The piece is done, and we have to look at it under a microscope, make sure everything looks good. The prongs are set, the diamonds are holding. The polish is nice. There's no little nicks. So definitely the attention to details there.
Something I forgot to ask, and then we'll dive into. I want you to really take us into like, like a jewelry workshop, and we're like, how do I even like, what is that even like starting that business looks like? But you chose the name Legacy. I think that's a big name, right? And you did that for a reason. What was the reason for that? And maybe the extension to that question is like, what do you think legacy means to you?
Man, that's big. I was so, back to 2018, I was trying to figure out what to name the business, and I was going to these seminars, a lot of them, they talked about legacy business seminars. They were talking about, what's going to be your legacy. There was a song by Jay-Z called Legacy.
Yeah, there we go.
At the beginning of the song.
Hove.
Yep, Hove. At the beginning of the song, I think it's his daughter who says, "Daddy, what's a will?" And that part alone, before the song starts, I get the chills, because I think, I don't have kids, but I think of my kid looking up to me, and saying, "Daddy, what's a will?" And for somebody who doesn't have anything to leave behind, it's not that impactful, But I want to be able to say, when he asked that question, almost like a confidence to know, like that, son, this is or daughter, this is a will.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be all for you.
Yeah. This is all yours.
This is all yours.
So
like
powerful.
That's pretty much what what I think about, when it comes to the word legacy. It's not about money. It's about what could you leave behind, whether it be even the intangibles, the talks, the conversations, kneecap to kneecap with whoever you're sitting with, what's gonna be left behind when you're gone.
So I'm fascinated, kind of like, because I just don't know, but it sounded like, again, from what you said, you were self-taught, you were listening, you were very detailed in observations with price points and things like that. So what does it kind of like even look like? Like walk me through that. So like when I think if someone would be like, yo, EJ, I'm going to task you with building a jewelry like brand or like whatever, right? I'm thinking to myself, well, shoot, I got to go find a plug in like the caves of like Russia or Africa. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I just got to have like connections. I got to have like family there, people. Like, I don't know. Like, what does that like kind of look like as far as like, I guess, sourcing, wholesaling, things like that?
Yeah. So initially what, oh man, how did it start? It's crazy. Like I said, it's tough. I feel like I got to write it down so that way it could be, duplicated.
Yeah.
But, everything I learned it as I went. Some people, they were generous enough to say, hey, this is a manufacturer that you can go with to find gold.
Nice. So it's just like literally going to people and asking them.
Yeah, I was literally asking them. I built a relationship with a lot of the retailers, and at the jewelry district, and I was trying to figure out, okay, cool, how do I get in this business? Some of them, they'll straight up look at me, don't even start.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Don't even start. It's not.
Like, you don't know what you're getting.
You don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Or you don't have the money, and it sounds like maybe they didn't want the competition. I don't know. I'm sure they didn't see me as a competition, but they just said, don't even start. Don't even waste your time.
Yeah.
And but luckily, and thank God, I was able to meet some really cool people. And they were like, yeah, if you need that, you should go to this person. They're manufacturer.
They're very helpful.
They were helpful, So those little people, it's self-made. There's never self-made. There's always people there that give you that stepping stone. Even in the smallest way. It's there's always, you can't do anything without people.
Yeah.
So that was a big help. In that, I found the gold manufacturer, I found the diamond distributor, I found, and they were wholesalers for the most part here at the jewelry district. But eventually I went to certain events, like there's a big jewelry convention in Vegas once a year. It's the biggest one in the world. And
you just went to that too,
I just went to it. It was last month.
Nice.
And in essence, there is where you actually meet the manufacturers. And you go, and they're from all over the world. There's sections of Singapore, there's sections of Mexico, there's sections of China, India, and they're all separate hubs.
Yeah.
And that's when I cut out the middleman in essence. I cut out the middleman, the wholesaler from the jewelry district. Now I go direct to the source overseas.
Nice.
So now when I'm getting diamonds from those who actually cut the diamonds, who facet them and who are actually manufacturing, doing the stuff, whether it be the gold, the silver, whatever finished jewelry. If I need it, they'll manufacture it overseas and send it over to me if I need to, like finished chains and such. But if I'm doing custom work, as far as like a pendant or an engagement ring, that gets manufactured here in the U.S. I get the diamonds sent from overseas, and then we manufacture it here in the U.S. in L.A.
Dude, I love that. So what I'm hearing, and we reference Jay-Z, closed mouths don't get fed.
100%.
Like you were reaching out to people, you were getting denied, but eventually you just were persistent, and you eventually found your way, and you gained that wisdom and knowledge. You cut the middleman, right? And now you're just doing your thing.
Yeah. It's all it all ties back to that street talk from Almaty. It's very similar. You're out on the street. Cut out the middleman. We gotta make a play. Find the plug. Yeah. That's literally what I was doing. There's no secret to it. You just got to go out, you got to be hungry, and you got to make it happen.
Would that be one of your biggest advices for someone, whether it's in this business or another business, in regards to, if you want something, you got to go out there, be persistent, communicate, network, all that stuff?
Yeah, 100%. I think on Kobe's last podcast, he said, when you know what you want, the world becomes your library as to how to get it.
Come on, man. Let's go.
And that's so true.
Yeah.
Once you know what you want, you have to first know what you want, at least bare minimum a little bit. That way you kind of start gearing in the right direction. And the world becomes your library as to how to get it. You still, and library, because you still have to learn. It's not going to be given to you. You still got to pull out the books and read it. But the world becomes your library.
Yeah, so, dude, I love that, man. I love that. And by the way, I couldn't help but think to myself, you're reaching out, you're cutting the middleman, and you're directly talking to these people, and they're like, oh, man, it's Tolano. We better answer. It's a Tolano. We better answer.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's so funny.
But it's crazy if I may.
Yeah, please.
A lot of these manufacturers, thank God I'm building the brand as Legacy Jewelry LA, not as Matthew the jeweler or Matthew whatever, something like that. They see the brand and it's almost like there's more trust already being built. Nice. Like they trust me. They talk to me like it's just me.
Yeah.
And I have trust with these manufacturers where I'm like, wow, I feel super confident that I'm able to negotiate with them direct.
Yeah, I love that, man, because that kind of reminds me when I started this podcast. As you know, many people have podcasts. It's like the first and last name show.
Yeah,
like, I could have made this the EJ Cruz show.
Right.
And I don't know. To me, as from a marketing standpoint, I just thought that, like, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Like it's. I always reference back to like the Ray Kroc moment when he saw McDonald's. He's like, bro, that's it.
That's
you
the
know
name.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so Parable, same thing. And I think what you did, and I guess in some different instances, different industries, you may want to leverage your name, but it sounds like, you know, you definitely did that on purpose, like for sure. It wasn't like you didn't want to just be like Matt Tolano, the jeweler or whatever. Like Legacy Jewelry LA was it for you.
100%. Yeah, because I wanted to separate myself from the business. You know, I want to be able to grow a business that I could eventually, if I want to sell, you know, if that's what it was, pass it down to my kids. Because if it's tied to my name, maybe I don't name my kid Matthew, and it's Matthew Jewelers, and it's like, well, why is it Matthew Jewelers? Or, you know, it's there's so many reasons to that. I wanted the business itself to be its own celebrity, not me.
That's so good, because now, again, it goes back to legacy, generational wealth, and things like that, too. Yeah. And how that could favor them, too. Yeah. I love that, man.
100%.
Let's talk a little bit about faith and value in regards to, you know, this is an industry, that's often driven by status and image, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know it, like, we're talking athletes, high status people, like, with just, like, lots of jewelry, you know, things like that. And that's, like, an image, right? Like, how do you stay authentic to who you are in that industry where it's all about status and image?
That's tough. It definitely gets tough.
Yeah.
I would say the first thing for me is first and foremost, I'm a businessman, not a jeweler. Like, that's the first thing. You know, I know how to separate that. Yeah. You know, I don't let it consume me. You know, I've heard people say, oh, there's a diamond curse, or there's you know, you're gonna get
interesting.
You know, that you're gonna get super. You know, people, maybe they believe in the crystals or the stones and such. You know, maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but
interesting.
But that's pretty much what I see, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a businessman. You know, I'm not a jeweler. I'm a businessman. Yeah. You know, I'm building Legacy Jewelry LA. Yeah. You know, I'm not building Matthew the jeweler.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that helps me separate all of that. You know.
I love that, man. I love that. And by the way, I'm curious to know too. Well, I mean, first, I like what you said, because you're like, hey, I'm not building, you know, Matt Tolano the jeweler. Like, I'm a businessman first, but then also even before that, you're Matt Tolano. Right. Yeah. I think that's powerful. Speaking of which, when you were talking about, some of the jewelry, the sourcing and things like that, how big is the ethical and sustainable, like, sourcing? Is that still big in the industry at all?
Yeah, if we're talking about natural diamonds, there's definitely a lot of things in place. You know, I'm sure you're referencing to like blood diamonds.
Yeah. So, one thing, I love the movie, but it's also cool sad. Movie. The Leonardo DiCaprio, I love that movie. Yeah. But it's just like sad to even know about that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I was just curious in the industry, how big is that? I
would say, obviously Hollywood likes to, you know, hyperbolize everything.
Yeah,
exaggerate everything. Yeah. So, I would say there's a lot of procedures in place nowadays that, you know, blood diamonds is probably not a big topic of discussion. You know, there's it's called the Kimberley process. So these diamonds have to go through the Kimberley process before, you know, they even arrive to the U.S. Yeah. So that's when we're talking about natural diamonds. Now, of course, with lab diamonds, that's a whole different story. You know, they're made in warehouses or factories. They're made in factories. So now we're talking about the labor, you know, how these people are treated there at the factories. Yeah. You know, that's a different conversation. At the workplace, how they're treated there to make the lab diamonds. That's a different topic. But as far as, you know, natural diamonds, there's a lot of processes in place or procedures in place to mitigate the entry of blood diamonds.
Got it. So lots of change, and there's lots of progress and standards and regulations.
Oh, for sure. Kind of a lot of regulations. Yeah, so definitely.
Yeah. So I'm curious now, like, let's just say we didn't know each other. Yeah. We get connected. I'm like, yo, Matt, I'm looking for, which, by the way, I think everyone should have their own, like, own a chain at one point in their life. Like, I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But, like, I go in there, I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a chain. I'm looking for matching pieces to go with maybe my wedding ring. So what does that, like, kind of consultation or, like, designing process look like?
Well, first, I think it comes down to ultimately price.
Okay.
I mean, what, you know,
Like, just to be straight up. Like, It's like,
to
hey,
be
what
straight up,
are you looking for? But
yeah.
also, what's your budget?
What's your budget? Because a lot of people think, you know, certain mentalities when you ask them, okay, cool, what's your price range or what are you looking to spend? They think that you're trying to, you know, pull a fast one on them because now you know how much they're wanting to spend, so now you're going to push them into something that they don't want.
Interesting.
No, it's not. That's not it at all. It's just that there's chains, even gold chains, that you could find, you know, a certain really thin chain for $100.
Yeah.
Versus a $50,000 chain, $100,000 chain.
Yeah.
That spectrum is so big that if I'm not asking you what your price point is, I could literally send you thousands of chains that are within even $100 to $1,000.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you were trying to be higher. Maybe you're trying to be lower. First thing is definitely price.
Yeah.
You know, we got to know, hey, you know, what's your price point?
Mm-hmm.
And do you want something heavy? Do you want to be able to feel it on your neck, or do you want it to be a little bit lighter? You know, because I've had some clients where they buy a really big chain, a tattoo artist actually specifically.
Yeah.
And he was wearing the chain. He said, "Dude, by the end of the day, my neck was hurting me on the first
interesting.
day." Yeah.
So these are the little things I'm not even thinking
Yeah,
about.
it's such a big chain that he had. You know, it was a thick Miami Cuban, and he had it. He said, "Dude, by the end of the day, my neck was hurting."
Yeah.
He said, "Could we?" Let's talk about, you know, getting either something smaller or splitting it up between a bracelet and a chain, and you know,
Yeah.
so it's like little things like that, you know, and how flashy do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you want it to be more sleek? Do you want it to have a little bit of bling with the diamond cuts? Do you want diamonds on it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's pretty much what the conversation would be like. Yeah.
Nice. Would you say a big reward, like a rewarding feeling aside from, of course, like making someone happy with the piece, especially if it's custom, but just how it makes them feel?
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I've seen some of my clients, and I love this moment. One of my clients, he bought a Miami Cuban diamond chain.
Okay.
Put it on him, his chest even like stuck out a little bit, and you know what I'm
Like, I
saying?
see,
Superman, like literally that. You know, I saw the S underneath. You know, it's kind of
That's
seeping
awesome,
through,
man.
and you know those moments right there is actually. It's actually really damn cool, you know, how something like this, like I said, I feel like I found the purpose within the process. You know, that wasn't my for jewelry, but when I started to see those moments, I'm like, this is what it's about.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, and I want to just go back to that just real quick, because in the beginning, when we were talking, you started off like, yo, it was for the money. Right? But now there's like an impact piece to this too.
Yeah,
and we have a
100%.
mutual friend named Andrew Cruz. We talk about that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
like when you're looking into a field, a business, an idea, sometimes people miss initially, and that's okay. Kind of like with your story, like, you know, there's one thing that you're drawn to, but the reality is there's definitely some sort of service or impact that's on the back end of that, which I think is powerful, which it sounds like kind of like, you know, again, with you in this business, right?
Yeah.
Like how you're making people feel. And then even, we haven't even talked about like people who have sentimental value in some of the things, right? Like people bring like their grandma's rings and doing this or refinishing. Like what else do you guys, maybe options you guys do with that?
Oh
Just
man,
curious.
yeah, we could. So there was actually this. So one of my buddies, he works at Good Morning America, and he interviewed some people at the fires. You know, such a tragedy.
The California fires.
California fires.
Okay.
You know, past the Altadena, and then also the you know, but this is specifically the Altadena, and I grew up, you know, super close to that. She found her ring, but it was melted. It was in a little glob. So she found it, and I reached out to him. I'm like, dude, I would love to remake that ring for her at no cost.
You reached out to
I reached out to him.
Oh, to him.
I said,
yeah.
dude, give me that contact if you can. And I got her number. I reached out to her. She said, you know, I would love that. Just right now they lost their house.
Yeah.
So right now that's not the biggest concern.
Yeah.
She said, reach back around. So I reached out to her, and we're ready to whenever she's ready, I'm going to make that piece again for her, remanufacture it, use that same
awesome,
gold,
man.
and, you know, make it into something new, something beautiful. So yeah, we could do you know, somebody brings in either a diamond or a precious gemstone or some gold, and we remanufacture it into something else. Like that's the possibilities are endless. You know, because we could it's metals. You know, they're malleable with precious gemstones. You know, of course, some of them are not as hard as diamonds, so we got to be more careful with them. But in essence, we could redesign a piece.
Nice.
And,
nice.
You know, make it more modern.
Nice.
Yeah.
Last thing about the business, and I want to go back to focus to you, right? What would you say, because again, to me, I'm just fascinated. I think it's just such a unique business, right, or industry. What would you say is maybe like the biggest lesson you learned being in this industry?
The biggest lesson I learned is that trust is currency. I would say that's the biggest lesson that I've learned so far.
And that's just even outside of the industry too, in
yeah,
general, right?
Yeah. But definitely this industry, trust is currency, because it is, in essence, gold is money.
Okay.
Diamonds are money. People, you could exchange it for money. If you're selling clothes, you can't really exchange that cotton or whatever the material is. It's not just going to be converted to money or. So within that, when these manufacturers, I just got some shipments in today, I haven't paid him for it.
Mm-hmm.
He sent me, some diamonds and gold, finished jewelry, and that trust helps grow a business.
That's a big leap of faith.
That's a big leap of faith. Yeah. It's in the tens of thousands of dollars that they ship me.
Yeah.
And I haven't paid for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing, is that trust is currency. Mm-hmm. And without that, once you start burning your name, mm-hmm. you're kind of, it's going to be hard to bounce back.
Yeah, you're done.
You steal from somebody, you do somebody dirty. And that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from this industry, is that I have so much confidence that somebody, especially say at the jewelry district or specifically the jewelry district, these guys could talk good about me. Mm-hmm. And there's so much confidence in that.
Yeah.
And it creates more confidence in me to keep going.
Yeah.
So that's what's really cool.
Well, just to expand on that too, just a little bit, how would you say, what's Matt Tolano's way of maybe building trust? Like, what would advice, if someone's listening to this and they have trouble building rapport, or maybe they've, dug themselves in a hole and they're trying to get back to building trust and just, redefine themselves, what would you say is, or your advice to someone like that? Like just reps, building it back from scratch.
Yeah.
Communication, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I would say you got to come with a good energy already about you. If you got to smile, you got to show that you're a good person, mm-hmm. From the get go.
Yeah.
If you don't look trustworthy already, then mm-hmm. that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
Present yourself well, speak well, and.
Would you say maybe be a little vulnerable too?
Be vulnerable for
showing,
sure.
Yeah, be vulnerable, because you're giving trust to them by being vulnerable, right? Yeah. So it may be like a trust exchange, I guess you could say.
Yeah, trust exchange. I don't know how how to put it into words, but a lot of it is, I would say, body language. Because they see it. Mm-hmm. I feel it when I walk in there and people say hi, they smile, and it's like. I don't really know how to put into words. It's more of an energy, I would say.
Like that gut feeling.
It's a gut feeling. Yeah, it's like, cool. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or no, this guy looks like okay, he's trustworthy. Mm-hmm. And I hear that all the time. Like, no, this is a good dude.
Yeah.
Like they'll talk to their other guys. Yeah, this is a good dude. This trustworthy guy.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So
and that's interesting, because that's a testament to, I think, our relationship. We're such detail-oriented people, and we just knew, like, yo, bro, our energies radiate and mesh so well.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So I love that, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. So let's go back to you, man, just to kind of wrap up everything. Let's go back to you. Is there, again, growing up, El Monte, wrestling, Marine Corps, and then like here now, was there a time in your life where you were just at your lowest point, if you don't mind sharing that, and what that taught you was a valuable lesson to like today and your success today? What does that look like? Was there a transition, maybe like you were like just super lost, or like, something just big happened that really like changed the course of like, your journey?
I would say probably my lowest point was when I had first got back from the military. Okay. This was, like I said, July of 2018. Okay. I got home. Within that I would say the first couple months, there was a shooting at my house. Mm-hmm. So my house got shot at. And I didn't know where the shots came from. Okay. Nobody knew where they came from. I don't know if it was, man. Yeah, it's kind of, like a lot of people probably wouldn't, they'd have some type of trauma from that. And I feel like I kind of do, I'm super, very alert, even more so because of that situation.
Oh, I've been shot at too. And I still feel I'm a little traumatized.
Yeah.
Every now and then, like just,
Yeah, it's crazy. We were asleep. My family, that's where we sleep. You think that's where you come home and find peace.
Yeah.
And the house got shot at. So we're trying to figure out, okay, did I hurt somebody? Mm-hmm. Was it me? I felt guilty because I had just gotten home and it happened. Yeah. I thought it was me. I was like, man, did I do somebody dirty before I left the military and now I'm back and now they're trying to whatever?
Yeah.
But I don't know what it was, and I think that I shut down and I kind of closed off from a lot of people. You know, I removed a lot of people that I grew up with because I said I didn't know who it came from. I'm like trying to like I seen this guy yesterday. This guy came by my house the day before. Like, was it them? Like, you know, I just kind of closed everybody off.
Yeah.
And that kind of made it hard. A lot of paranoia.
But justified for sure.
Yeah, a lot of paranoia because I'm like, dude, who did it come from?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I'm back in military mode. I was staying up in the middle of the night on fire watch per se, you know, because I wanted my parents to sleep and my family to sleep. That's why I stayed with my parents when I first got back from the military. And I wanted them to sleep. I was up. And I think that kind of hindered some growth in business because, you know, you want contacts. You want to be able to sell to more people. You know, especially, you know, your warm market. But I closed off to a lot of my warm market for the majority. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I don't know who to trust, man. You know, I left this place for this reason. You know, and I come back and this is what it is. So, yeah, that kind of made it harder. You know, I didn't have a big Rolodex at that point because I closed everybody off. I deleted people. I removed people. So, yeah, that was definitely a big low point. And eventually, like I said, fast forward, I met the mentor. And he kind of helped me and guided me through that.
So it was like a restart.
It was a restart for sure, yeah, because I had to make new friends and kind of, you know, and come to terms with myself. Like, all right, cool. You don't have to just not trust nobody. Yeah. You know, rebuilding that trust, kind of like what you said. How do you rebuild that trust? I just started to open up little by little again. Yeah. And
I think that's a testament to, you know, the saying goes like, you close one chapter and a new one opens up.
Yeah. Oh, right? For sure.
Yeah, I love that, man. Yeah. I love that. Last question for you, Matt, as we wrap up here. You know, from someone that, you know, had a very distinguished, you know, journey, you know, a certain path, what would you say is, you know, the habits or disciplines that you think really shaped to where you are today?
I would say definitely my time in the military. You know, building that discipline, you know, from the schedule, getting your schedule on point to, you know, waking up earlier in the day and, you know, having that regiment. I think that definitely played a big part into me being self-reliant, you know, being able, because, you know, a lot of people say, oh, I want to work for myself. Well, a lot of people don't know that when you work for yourself, you manage your own schedule. So you could just if you wanted to, you know, you could just do whatever the heck you want. Yeah. So you need to have a sense of discipline and a sense of direction. And that definitely helped because, like I said, a lot of this is me doing a lot of the business. Legacy Jewelry LA is done behind closed doors. You know, it's in the middle of the night, reaching out to manufacturers overseas because the time change, you know, the time difference. Yeah. So I'm reaching out to them at 2-3 in the morning and talking to them, or you know, stuff like that, designing the packaging, designing the jewelry, designing whatever we're designing. Yeah. Little things like that, you know, having the discipline to make it happen. You know, it sounds so simple, but I feel like a lot of people miss that point. Yeah,
they think it's definitely an overlooked part of the process.
It's an overlooked part for sure.
Yeah. So, a lot on the back end. Awesome, man. Last thing, brother, and then I know you had something you wanted to share, but last thing is, what would you say is the best advice that you've ever received that you could share with the audience?
That's a good question. Received a lot of advice over the years.
Yeah. I just asked this because, again, you know, you've had mentors like Sam Bakhtiar, maybe a mentor, you know, that you got paired up with. Yeah. You know, it sounds like you were very close to family, you know, that guided you. What would you say is the best advice?
I would say that the best advice that I've received wasn't even in person. I heard this on an interview. It was it would suck to become successful as somebody else. You know, and I kind of let that sink in a little bit. Become successful as somebody that's not you, in essence. You know, it was actually, I think it was Jay-Z that said it. Back to Jay-Z. Yeah. I think it was him that said that.
Hey, man, are you supplying Jay-Z and you're just not telling me?
No, not yet. I think Jacob has him covered. But no, it's definitely, because I've thought about, I heard that when I think I heard that in high school. And it resonates because I'm like, man, it'll suck to become successful, and it's like that's not even who you wanted to become. Maybe you want to be a musician, maybe you wanted to do something else, and you ended up being a real estate agent. Yeah, you gained success, but you never actually chased your passion of what you wanted to do. You know, and I think that's kind of what's driving Legacy too. because I started in 2018. I veered off a little bit with the mentor. We were in a separate business together. And I was like, let me come back to what I started, trust your instinct.
Yeah.
God put something in your heart for a reason, and I think that would be the biggest thing that I would say.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you, brother. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. I had a lot of fun. I understand you got me a little gift or something. I don't know what this is. I'm a little scared, but also very looking forward to it.
Check it out, brother.
All right, man. I appreciate you, man. Look at this. It's all about the presentation, right? So
That's
I appreciate you. Let's see what we got here. All right, cool, man. So we have this.
It's a catalog. That's our catalog.
That's catalog.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, man. Come on now. I don't know if we could zoom in here. This is a pendant with the Parables Podcast logo on there. Brother. Oh, man.
That's a reaction.
Dude. That's the reaction?
That's that reaction, yeah.
Oh, man. I got to say, so there are few items and things that you get in life, right? And some of them, like, it's like those things that you never thought that you would definitely just like adore, admire, or even use almost day to day. This is definitely one of them.
Nice.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm definitely wearing this on many episodes.
Yeah,
bro.
no, good, man.
I appreciate it. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's a silver chain pendant with the Parables logo. Man, I appreciate that, man. Bro. I appreciate you, brother. Well, awesome, man. Just real quick before we sign off here, where can anyone listening, watching on YouTube can reach out to you? Maybe they're interested now in getting some customized pieces, want to do business with you. Where can they reach out to you and contact you, brother?
Yeah, man. You guys could follow me on Legacy Jewelry LA. The handle is @Legacy Jewelry LA. And that's the best way to see, a lot of the pieces showcased there. You could also the website legacyjewelryla.com. So the easiest way is definitely Instagram, though. And
then where's your headquarters at? Because I know you just kind of like you have a space now where you could do consultations and designs and things like that.
Yeah, and then it's by appointment only. It's in Duarte, California, and we set up consultations there. And that looks really good on you, by the way.
Yeah,
that looks really good on you, by the way.
Hey, man, come on! I didn't mean to interrupt, but dude, someone that loves jewelry, this is freaking amazing, bro.
And I saw you had the round one already, so I was like, I know he'll like the round one.
Oh, yeah,
you had the round pendant.
See, attention to detail, man. Yeah. Attention to detail. I appreciate you, brother. Well,
of course,
everyone, I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll talk soon. Parables Podcast. We are out of here. Matt Tolano.
All right. Thank you, brother. Yeah. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dude, this is freaking dope, bro.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. If you enjoyed the episode and found value, don't forget to hit that follow so you are always updated and in the loop with the latest episode drops. In addition, if you could rate the podcast, that would help us tremendously with visibility. Lastly, if you know someone that would enjoy or benefit from this episode or the show, please pay it forward and share it with them. It means a lot to us. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.